The smell of hot Eba still hung in the air when the shouting began. Emily, 22 years old, stood in the center of her parents' living room. Wearing a simple lilac maternity gown, the fabric stretched tight across her 7-month belly. Her hair was packed into a rough bun, and her face, once lively, now looked drained, her mood fragile and frightened. The living room's orange bulb cast a harsh glow over the cracked walls, turning every shadow into something threatening. Her father, Mr. Okafor, dressed in navy trousers and a cream short-sleeved shirt, paced angrily across the tiled floor, his eyes blazing with disappointment. Her mother, Mrs. Okafor, stood near the dining table in a green Ankara wrapper and matching blouse, her arms folded tightly over her chest, her breathing shaky and emotional. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. "You are pregnant, and you still have the mind to stand here?" her father barked, his voice echoing off the walls. Emily swallowed the lump in her throat. "Daddy, please," Daniel said. "Daniel said what?" he roared. "The same boy denying you everywhere, the same family that said you're not in their class?" Her mother wiped her eyes with the edge of her wrapper, her voice barely above a whisper. "Emily, how could you do this to yourself? To us? We warned you." Emily stepped forward, tears falling freely now. "I didn't know this would happen. I thought he loved me. I didn't plan." Her father pointed at the door, his voice breaking in places he couldn't hide. "Leave, tonight, before the neighbors hear all this shame. You've brought enough disgrace to this family. Go and live the consequences of your actions. Go! I can't stand this shame anymore." Emily froze. Her breath caught in her chest. Her mother looked away when their eyes met a silent confirmation that the decision had already been made. The room spun. Her hands shook. Her baby moved inside her, a small reminder of the life depending on her. Emily grabbed her small brown bag from the sofa. No clothes, no savings, nothing but the little money hidden inside and the phone clutched in her hand. She stared at her parents one last time. "I'm still your daughter," she whispered, voice trembling. But no one answered. She stepped outside into the night. The door closed behind her softly, painfully, permanently. The sky thundered overhead as she walked out of the compound. A sharp wind whipped through her gown and the first drop of rain hit her cheek. Then another, and another. In seconds the heavens opened. Emily stood on the empty street, soaked instantly, her bare feet cold against the wet ground. The streetlights flickered weakly, bathing her in a trembling yellow glow. Water ran in streams along the gutters, lightning illuminating the deep ache in her eyes. She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. Press Daniel's number. Ringing. Ringing. He declined. She tried again. He declined. Her breath hitched painfully. She called a third time. This time he picked. His voice was cold, irritated, careless. "Emily, stop calling me." Thunder cracked behind her. Her chest tightened. "Daniel, my parents sent me out. Please, I'm outside. I have nowhere to go. Please come get me." In the background, a woman laughed. Music played. He was not alone. "I don't know what you want me to say, Emily. I told you the child is not mine." Her eyes widened with disbelief. "Daniel, you know that's a lie. You know—" He cut her off sharply. "Ask to lose my number and stop embarrassing me." Click. The line went dead. Emily stood frozen in the rain, her phone shaking in her hand. Her tears mixed with the storm as another wave of lightning illuminated her trembling body. The world around her felt unbearably large, unbearably lonely. She wrapped one arm around her belly, whispering brokenly, "We're on our own now. It's just us." She began walking with no destination. Her slippers splashed through waterlogged potholes. Cars drove past without slowing down. Street vendors closed their shops, peeking at her through narrowed eyes filled with pity and judgment. Her gown clung to her skin. Her hair dripped. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. She moved from street to street, searching for shelter, for mercy, for anything warm enough to hold on to. But everywhere she went, she saw the same thing. Closed windows, locked doors, strangers hurrying indoors, refusing to meet her eyes. Her baby kicked again. A small, fragile reminder of why she had to keep moving. Lightning split the sky as she finally reached a narrow corridor, the entrance to a crowded, run-down, face-me-I-face-you compound. A single bulb flickered above, buzzing softly as if considering whether to go out completely. It wasn't home. It wasn't safe. But it was somewhere to breathe. Emily stepped inside the corridor, rainwater dripping from her gown, hope flickering inside her chest like the dying bulb overhead. Tonight her old life had shattered. But somewhere in the cold, wet darkness, her new one had begun. The corridor was dim, narrow, and alive with echoes. A baby crying somewhere far inside, a pot lid falling in a neighbour's room, someone arguing over Nipah light. The smell of soaked clothes, kerosene, and wood smoke hung thick in the air. Emily stood at the entrance, still dripping rainwater in her soaked lilac maternity gown, her hair glued to her face, her mood a trembling mix of fear, confusion, and exhaustion. Her belly felt heavier now, the baby shifting as if sensing her distress. Her knees wobbled as she leaned on the wall. She knocked on the first door. Silence. She knocked on the second. Still nothing. When she reached the third door, a wooden one with peeling green paint, she heard footsteps inside, slow and dragging, followed by the scrape of a bolt. The door cracked open. A lantern glow spilled out. Mama Blessing, 58 years old, stood in the doorway, wrapped in a brown wrapper tied above her chest, her grey hair tucked under a blue scarf. Her round face was lined with years of struggle but lit with a maternal softness. Her mood was cautious at first, then warm, then deeply concerned. She raised the lantern slightly, letting the flame illuminate Emily's soaked figure. "Jesus, my daughter, who sent you out in this kind rain?" Emily's lips parted, but no words came. Her voice had drowned somewhere between the rejection and the storm. She let out a small, shaky sob. Mama Blessing didn't wait for explanations. She opened the door wider. "Come inside before Breeze freezes you finish." Emily stepped into the room small, warm and alive, with the smell of grilled fish and menthol balm. A single bed sat in the corner, covered with a red floral bedsheet. A plastic chair, a kerosene stove, and a bucket by the door completed the tiny space. The lantern flickered softly as Mama Blessing shut the door. She set the lantern on the table and turned to Emily. "My daughter, what happened to you?" Emily wiped her face with the back of her hand, her voice thin and breaking. They chased me out." Mama Blessing sighed a deep, experienced sigh and reached for a dry towel hanging at the window. "Wipe yourself, sit down, cry small, it will not kill you." Emily sank onto the bed, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Her fingers clutched the edge of the mattress as tears poured down freely. "Once she could speak again," she whispered, "I have nowhere to go." Mama Blessing nodded slowly, her eyes soft. "You will stay here. No woman carrying life inside her should sleep outside." Emily broke again, this time in gratitude. Emily woke the next morning to voices in the corridor, children running, water splashing, a radio playing old high-life songs. She sat up slowly, her back aching, her belly heavy. Blessing Mama Blessing's daughter, 26 years old, entered the room holding a plastic basin of clothes. She wore a pink tank top and black leggings, her curly hair tied up, her mood bright and chatty. She grinned when she saw Emily awake. "Good morning. You slept like someone that fought the whole Nigerian army." Emily forced a small smile. Blessing didn't judge her. She didn't ask too many questions. She simply helped. Later that day, Emily joined the household routine, fetching water from the communal tap, washing clothes with Mama Blessing's help, cooking simple meals, trying not to think too much. But late pregnancy in poverty was a battle. Her ankles swelled painfully. Her back burned like fire. Her breathing grew shallow. She sometimes clutched her belly in fear, praying nothing would go wrong. And every evening the whispers began. Neighbors standing by the tap. "She got chased out, you know." The boy denied her. Young girls and their problems. Emily pretended not to hear. But the shame dug into her like tiny needles. Sometimes she cried while washing plates. Sometimes she swallowed the tears like medicine. Sometimes she held her belly whispering, "I'm sorry, I'm trying." This stranger's compound, chaotic, loud, crowded, was becoming her first real sanctuary. A place where failure didn't define her. A place where someone finally said, "Stay." The afternoon sun burned harshly over Surulere, yet Emily stood at the Martin's tall black gate, like someone chasing the last breath of hope left in her chest. She looked exhausted. Oversized faded gown, slippers almost broken, her 7-month pregnancy showing, her mood a trembling mix of fear and determination. Her face carried dried tears, the kind that never truly leave. With shaking fingers, she pressed the small old doorbell. From inside the compound, voices floated, laughter, clinking plates, sounds of a comfortable home that had never welcomed her. The gate creaked open, and Mrs. Martin stepped out in a rich Ankara wrapper and blouse, gold earrings, and a face carved with irritation. Her mood, cold, disgusted, like Emily was dirt on her doorstep. She didn't even greet her. "What do you want here again?" she snapped. Emily swallowed hard. "Good evening, Ma. Please, I just want to talk to Daniel. He's not answering my calls. I really need to—" "Talk to who?" Mrs. Martins barked. "My son? The same Daniel you trapped with that thing in your stomach?" Emily flinched like the words were blows. "It wasn't like that, Ma. We were together." "He knows." "Shut up, look at you. Is it by force to be wife material? Which responsible boy will marry a girl like you? You are not good enough for my son. You were never good enough." Emily blinked rapidly, struggling to hold herself together. "Please, Ma. I didn't come to fight. I just want him to take responsibility. I'm suffering." Mrs. Martins hissed loudly, loud enough for neighbors to hear. Mrs. Martins smirked. "He will not come out. My son has moved on. He is abroad enjoying himself with his real girlfriend. Not this." She waved her hand at Emily's body. "This mistake." Emily's knees weakened. "Ma, I'm begging you in the name of God. I just need help for antenatal. I'm alone. My parents have rejected me. I don't have anywhere else to go." Mrs. Martin stepped forward, her face inches from Emily's. "And whose fault is that? You opened your legs, now you want us to pay for it. Listen well. My son cannot and will never have anything to do with someone like you." Her voice rose, sharp and cruel. "Get out of my gate!" The world tilted. Emily felt her vision blur, the heat pressing heavily on her, her breath shortening. She clutched her belly. Then the gate opened wider and she saw him, Daniel, 25, clean haircut, expensive t-shirt and joggers, standing just behind the door, half hidden. His mood, guilty but cowardly, refusing eye contact. "Daniel, please," she whispered. He shook his head slowly, avoiding her eyes. "Emily, just go. Stop disturbing me. I don't want you or that thing you're carrying. Let it go." For a moment, her heart simply stopped. His voice cut deeper than any insult. Mrs. Martin slammed the gate shut, hard. The sound echoed through the street. Emily staggered backward, her hands slipping from her belly, her legs sweeping air. She collapsed right beside the gutter, the dust rising around her, her tears falling to the ground like pieces of her breaking. Pedestrians paused but did nothing. Cars drove past without slowing. She lay there, curled around her pregnancy, trembling, breathing in short, painful gasps. Her loneliness swallowed her like a storm. The world had truly abandoned her. And this was the moment Emily realized she was on her own. The government hospital smelled of antiseptic, sweat, and despair, a smell that clung to Emily like a warning. Emily lay on a worn hospital bed in a pale blue hospital gown that barely covered her swollen belly, her skin slick with sweat, hair matted to her forehead. Her eyes were wide, red, and filled with a mix of terror and determination. Her breaths came in sharp, shallow gasps, her arms gripping the metal rails like they were her only anchor. Beside her, Mama Blessing clutched Emily's hand tightly. Her eyes glimmered with anxious hope, mood tense but protective. The midwife, Mrs. Ijeoma, in a blood-stained white uniform, moved quickly and decisively, mood-focused and urgent, her hands working with professional precision. "Another push, Emily. Stronger this time," she barked. Emily's body trembled violently, muscles straining, breath ragged, sweat dripping into her eyes. Every scream tore from her chest like fire, each contraction stealing her strength. I can't. It's too much," Emily gasped, clutching the bed rail, her fingers white from the grip. Mama Blessing shook her gently, voice fierce. "Ah, yes, you can. This is the only way. Push. My daughter. Fight." The pain roared through her, overwhelming. Her legs shook, knees threatening to buckle, her back burned, her chest heaved painfully. Emily whispered through her tears, "Please, please, stay with me. Stay alive." Time lost meaning. Minutes dragged into eternity. Emily's vision blurred, her strength waned. She felt faint, slipping toward darkness. Then the midwife's voice cut sharply. One more push. I need you. Come on." Emily screamed. Every fibre of her being summoned its last ounce of strength. She pushed with all she had, her body screaming in rebellion, her soul burning with determination. And then a cry, a sound so raw, so alive, it pierced the hospital walls. A tiny, wet, squirming bundle was placed on her chest. Emily's tears fell freely as she clutched the newborn wrapped in a hospital blanket. His tiny fists flexed instinctively, his skin soft, warm, and miraculous. His cries, strong and healthy, filled the room like a new song. She stared at him. Every exhaustion, every tear, every rejection in her life, dissolving into the purest emotion she had ever known. Love. "You are my life now, David. My son, my warrior. I will give you a life better than mine." Her voice was trembling but firm. Mama Blessing smiled softly, tears rolling down her cheeks. "You did it, my daughter. You are a warrior. And so is he." After the birth of her son, Emily swore never to have anything to do with her parents anymore, even if they come begging, because they care more about their reputation than her. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Emily had made a decision. Education was her escape. She began taking odd jobs, hawking small goods, washing clothes, babysitting, anything that could earn her enough to enroll in school. Each naira earned was a step closer to freedom. Hunger clawed at her, exhaustion burned her bones, yet she never stopped. At night she sat by a dim kerosene lamp, David sleeping beside her, and read borrowed textbooks, scribbling notes on scraps of paper. "One day, my son," she whispered, pressing a tired hand to her chest, "we will never have to beg again. I will make sure of it." School was brutal. Lectures ran from early morning until evening. David cried sometimes in class, forcing Emily to step outside under the blazing sun or sit quietly with him tied to her back. Fellow students whispered, some judged, some pitied, yet she ignored them all. She juggled assignments, odd jobs, and motherhood, her body aching, her mind stretched thin. She fell sick more than once, sometimes wondering if she could survive the weight of it all. Years passed. Tears fell, prayers were whispered, and determination hardened like steel in her soul. Against all odds, Emily graduated. The day she received her certificate was her happiest. David, now a little boy walking confidently beside her, held her hand tightly. Emily, now 28 years old, sat cross-legged on the floor of her small apartment, counting the day's earnings from her thrift business. She wore a simple yellow blouse and faded skirt, her mood calm but focused. David, 6 years old, played quietly nearby, humming as he stacked colourful blocks. Her phone rang, an unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. "Probably spam," she muttered, but answered anyway. "Emily." The voice trembled, shaky and fragile. It was Mrs. Martins, Daniel's mother. Emily froze. Memories came rushing, the cold gate, the humiliation, the day she collapsed under the rain while carrying her unborn child. "Emily, please. I need to see you," Mrs. Martins continued, voice breaking. Emily's first reaction was instinctive. Hang up. Her heart pounded with old fear and anger. She had survived without them. She didn't need their pity or intrusion. I can't," Emily whispered, shaking. The line went quiet, then a pause. "Please, it's important. Just hear me out," the trembling voice pleaded. Now the once unyielding voice sounded cracked, trembling, almost pleading. "Emily, please. I need to see you." Emily ended the call immediately, hands shaking. The memories were too heavy, too painful. She wanted nothing to do with that family. But all afternoon her chest felt tight. Thoughts spun. Why now? What could she want? Was Daniel okay? Was someone sick? Dead? Curiosity bit deeper than fear. The next morning, Emily finally agreed to meet Mrs. Martins at a quiet restaurant. The woman who once insulted her now looked smaller, grief-stricken, aged, eyes swollen like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. After a long silence, Mrs. Martins whispered, "Emily, something happened to Daniel." Emily's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" The story unfolded slowly, painfully. 6 months earlier, Daniel had travelled to Ghana with his new girlfriend, a girl he flaunted proudly on social media. On their way back from a beach party, the car skidded off a wet road and slammed into a barrier. The girl died instantly. Daniel survived, barely. He woke up after surgery to a truth worse than death. He was paralysed from the waist down. Emily's breath caught. Images of the once arrogant Daniel, tall, athletic, full of pride, twisted painfully in her mind. She didn't wish him pain, but the news tore something open inside her. The humiliation, the abandonment, the nights she cried alone while carrying his child, the day she fainted at his gate. Mrs. Martin's voice shook as she continued. He refuses to talk. He refuses therapy. He has pushed everyone away, even me. The only name he calls is yours. Emily, please. He needs you. He needs his son. Emily stepped back, horrified. His son? After everything? After denying us? After watching me collapse and closing the door? Tears rolled down Mrs. Martin's face. I know, my daughter. I am begging you. Please come back into his life. He has nothing left. For a moment, Emily felt the weight of her own healing, the years she fought alone, the pride she had rebuilt. And then another thought struck her, a fear she hadn't allowed herself to consider. For if Daniel sees David, if he recognizes him, will they try to claim him? Take him? Control her life again? Her breath trembled. She walked out of the restaurant without saying a word. But deep down she knew this wasn't over. Daniel's accident hadn't just changed his life. It was about to crash into hers and tear open wounds she thought had long healed. The rehabilitation ward was quiet, washed in soft afternoon light. Machines hummed gently in the background, nurses moved like shadows, and the air smelled of antiseptic and sorrow. Emily stepped inside wearing a simple blue blouse and black jeans, her hair tied neatly behind her head. Her mood was steady but guarded, the kind you build after years of surviving pain. She stood tall even though her heart trembled. At the far end of the room, Daniel sat in a wheelchair. He with unshaven facial hair, sunken eyes, and a grey hospital gown that hung loose on his now thin frame. His mood was shattered, a mixture of shame, regret, and the kind of pain that comes when life crushes a proud man. As soon as he saw her, his expression broke completely. Emily, his voice cracked. Please, please don't go. She froze. Daniel rolled himself closer, the wheels squeaking softly. His hands shook violently as he tried to straighten himself, trying to look strong for the woman he once discarded. But he failed. A sob escaped him. Emily, I'm sorry. His voice trembled. For everything. For leaving you. For denying you. For letting my parents chase you away. For not choosing you. God, Emily. I was stupid. Tears streamed down his face raw, uncontrolled. Emily's eyes softened, but her body remained still, her arms folded tightly across her chest. Why am I here, Daniel? She whispered. He swallowed hard, emotion choking him. Because you're the only person I ever truly loved, he said, dragging in a painful breath. And now, I can't walk, Emily. I can't feed myself properly. I can't sleep without nightmares. I have lost everything except the memories of you. He lowered his gaze, shaking. I deserve this, I know, but please, forgive me, even if you never want me back. Please forgive me. For a moment, Emily felt the weight of 6 years of rain-soaked nights, hunger, humiliation, childbirth, hard work, and rebuilding her soul one cracked piece at a time. Tears gathered in her eyes, but didn't fall. She stepped closer, kneeling slightly so she could look directly into his eyes. I forgave you a long time ago, Daniel, she said quietly, but forgiveness is not the same thing as returning. Daniel broke again, gripping the sides of his wheelchair. Emily, don't leave me like this. Don't walk away. Her voice remained steady. You left me like this, she answered softly, pregnant, alone, homeless, and I survived. You will survive too. She stood, wiped her face, and turned to leave. Daniel's hand lifted weakly in the air, reaching for her, but his fingers never touched her. Emily walked out of the ward with steady steps, her heart heavy but her spirit unbroken. Daniel remained there in the fading light, trembling, crying into his hands. A broken man begging a woman who no longer needed him to stand. The letter arrived on a Monday morning, slipped under her door like a quiet pet. Emily opened it casually, but the moment she saw the heading Child Custody Petition, her knees buckled, her surroundings blurred. The small room she had worked so hard to build, her thrift bags, her lecture notes, David's tiny school shoes lined by the door, all seemed to tremble with her. Her hands shook as she read. Daniel's family was suing her, demanding custody of 6-year-old David, claiming she was emotionally unfit, financially unstable, and incapable of raising a child alone. They wanted the boy she nearly died giving birth to, the boy she strapped to her back through school, the boy she starved for, prayed for, lived for. Something inside Emily snapped. She marched to the mirror, her eyes blazing, jaw set, her mood shifting from fear to fiery determination. "Over my dead body," she whispered. The courtroom was cold, echoing, intimidating white walls, wooden chairs, files stacked like mountains. Emily entered in a clean cream blouse, black skirt, and low heels. She stood tall beside her lawyer, even though her heart pounded hard enough to shake her ribs. Across the room sat Daniel's family. Mrs. Martins wore an expensive lace gown, gold jewelry, and a smug expression. Mr. Martin sat stiff, trying to appear dignified. Daniel sat in his wheelchair wearing a navy shirt and black trousers, eyes tired, mood fragile and remorseful. Emily refused to look away. Mrs. Martin spoke first, a performance dripping with fake concern. "My lord, we only want the best for the child. A boy needs a father, needs financial stability. My son may be sick, but he loves that child." Loved? Emily almost laughed. He didn't even want him. Emily's lawyer stood. What exactly is the petitioner offering that the mother cannot? "Money," Mrs. Martin said proudly. The judge raised an eyebrow. But then came Emily's turn. She took the stand, nervous but unbroken. The courtroom lights reflected off her skin, and for a moment the whole room felt the weight of her journey. She spoke slowly, clearly, painfully. "I begged this family when I was pregnant. They called me trash. They called my baby a mistake. I fainted outside their gate. They never opened the door. I gave birth alone, worked jobs nobody would touch, went back to school with a baby tied to my back, graduated, built a business, raised my son with love, discipline, and dignity. And now, because life punished Daniel, they remember I exist." Her voice shook, but she didn't. "If they think poverty makes me unfit, they should remember it made me strong." At that moment, even the judge leaned forward. Mrs. Martins shifted uncomfortably. Daniel looked down, tears slipping down his cheeks. Emily's final testimony silenced the room. "My lord, I am not fighting these people because of pride. I am fighting because my son is my entire world. And I will not let anyone take him from me just because they suddenly feel lonely." The courtroom fell still, every heart caught in her words. Emily stepped down, her mood fierce yet trembling with emotion, pulling her chair closer to David, who sat drawing quietly in the corner. She kissed his forehead. The battle wasn't over, but everyone in that courtroom had just witnessed a mother rise like a lioness defending her cub. And the Martins finally understood. They weren't fighting a girl anymore. They were fighting a warrior they created. The gavel fell with finality. Emily, wearing a crisp white blouse, navy skirt, and polished shoes, clutched David's hand tightly. Her mood was triumphant, yet calm, the kind that comes from fighting battles alone and emerging unbroken. The judge's voice echoed through the courtroom. "This court finds in favor of the mother, Miss Emily. The petitioner's claims are dismissed. The family abandoned the child and the mother when support was needed. The child will remain in the care of his mother." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Mrs. Martin's face drained of colour. Mr. Martin slumped in disbelief. Daniel, in his wheelchair, lowered his eyes, a quiet acknowledgement of consequences he had never expected. Emily hugged David tightly, his small arms wrapped around her neck. She felt every ounce of fear, hunger, and struggle they had endured fall away like dead leaves. Outside the courthouse, sunlight poured over them. For the first time in years, Emily breathed freely. No humiliation, no whispers, and no fear of losing her son.